All right, it's the Christian and Mrs. C show today. It's all right. We're gonna have fun together. Let's go to page 169 in grammar. And this is the second to the last lesson. So next week we will officially be on our last lesson of the grammar book. So we are just talking about how the class is wrapping up. We only have 3 weeks after today. So it's gone by so
The
fast.
last week doesn't have grammar.
That's right. The last week does not have grammar. Woohoo! Okay. Actually, technically, the last 2 weeks don't have grammar because we'll finish next week and then there's two more after that. So, yeah, it'll be good. All right, this is review talking about verbs. There are three different types of verbs, and we already know this. This is just review. So, an action verb shows action or ownership. A linking verb links the subject to a noun or adjective. And then a helping verb helps an adjective or action verb or a linking verb. So the thing to remember is we know action verbs. They're showing most of the time they show action. And then a linking verb is going to link other words together, not verbs. A linking verb is like the only one in that part of the sentence, like she was pretty. So she would be the subject, was is linking the subject to the adjective pretty. So if I say she was pretty, it's linking the subject to the adjective. But a helping verb always has another verb with it. It's either going to be another action or linking verb. There's going to always be another verb with it. So that's the way to remember that. It says circle the correct answers. Each statement has two correct answers. So it says an action verb. So we've got A, B, C, D choices here. So do you think an action verb can be a strong verb? Do you think that's true? Can it?
Yeah.
Yep, it can for sure. Yes. An action verb is a strong verb. B, is it always followed by another verb? Is there always a verb next to it? No, I'll
Not
answer that for you.
always, but
Not always, sometimes, but not always. And then C, it always follows a helping verb. Does it always follow a helping verb?
no.
No. And then does it always express ownership or action? Yes, that's what it does. It always expresses ownership or action. All right, the next one, a linking verb can be followed by, now this is like the example, she was pretty. So it's linking two words together. So a linking verb can be followed by
A
an
noun
action. Yes, a noun. And what
and an
else?
adjective.
Yes, you got it. There's two answers for each of these. You got it. How about the helping verb? Which one do you think that one can be followed by?
An action verb and a linking verb.
Good, you got it. Sweet. All right, and then this part we're going to decide, is it a helping verb or a linking verb? So you're going to circle H for helping or L for linking. So look at this one. It says, that is a fine shot. What kind of a verb is is?
Um, Linking or helping? Linking?
It is. It's linking. Remember, here's a clue. If you see another verb near it, it's going to be a helping verb. If you don't see another verb near it, it's going to be a linking verb. So like this one, that is a fine shot. Shot is actually a noun here. So it's just linking that together. Okay, how about the next one? That's the finest I have ever beheld.
Helping?
It's helping. Good, because beheld, another verb. So we've got the linking verb have and beheld. How about the next one? Both archers would gladly compete at the next tournament.
Helping?
Helping. Yep, because compete is a verb.
And then last one's linking.
And last one's linking. Both are skillful. Good job. That was quick. Yo, let's go. All right. You're already on the next page. Go ahead and read that when you're ready.
Then Robin Hood and his entire band howled with delight. After a moment, the stranger, who silently watched them, slowly smiled.
Nice. Okay, good. Howled. Well, in this context, it's actually they're having a party, it sounds like, because it says they howled with delight, which means they're happy. So they're probably laughing and woohoo, like that. They're just excited about something that's going on. So howled, that is. Sometimes howled could be, a dog or a wolf or something like that. But in this one, it's the band, it's the people. So then there's two articles. Go ahead and find those. And then five nouns when you're ready.
Robin and Hood, there's like a bracket and then a noun.
Good,
Band,
good,
moment,
good,
stranger,
good,
delight.
good. That's it, I think. One, two, three, four, five. Yep, that's it. Very good.
Pronoun is them.
Them, yes. Good job. Did you notice that first word is than? That's bugging me. I think we should fix that. What should we put there instead of than?
THEN.
That's good. Because than is what we use when we compare things, and we're not comparing here. It's telling what's going on next. Okay. So that was usage. You got that. Adjectives?
Entire and his.
Good. Yes. And that's it. Just those two right next to each other. Adverbs?
Silently, slowly, and then
Good. Then is right. And some students thought that after should be an adverb, but that's actually part of the prepositional phrase. So that's not going to be an adverb, but then is. Okay, good. How about coordinating conjunction?
and.
Good.
The prepositional phrases are with delight and after a moment.
Yes, good.
Who
You
which
keep going.
causes who silently watched them.
Good. Yes.
Main clauses are Robin Hood and his entire band howled with,
Keep going.
with delight.
Yes, and it's actually going to include then because it's telling when it happened. So then, and then we have to include with delight because otherwise if we stopped at howled, it might seem like they're angry or mad. So it's telling this is important. It's essential to the main clause to tell how they howled, like why they're howling with delight. And then where's the other one?
The stranger slowly smiled.
Yes, and it includes the who which clause because it's called embedded. When you see a who which clause in the middle of a main clause, you can't take it out. It's just going to be part of it because it's embedded inside of it. So you're right. That whole last part. Very good. And
Subject
then,
verbs
yeah,
are band is the subject, verb is howled.
that's it.
Who
Oh, go ahead. Do the rest of them.
who is the subject and the verb is watched.
Good.
Another verb smiled.
Mm-hmm.
And is them the subject?
No, because that's part of the who clause. So it's going to be before that.
Stranger?
Yes. So the who is completely separate. It's separate. It has its own subject verb clause. So yeah, the stranger slowly smiled. And then this first main clause, this doesn't happen very often, but there's actually two subjects here. So there's two subjects that go with howled. So who else?
And Robin Hood.
There you go. Sometimes that happens. And you're going to notice it says three subject verb pairs, but if you count the subjects, there's actually four. And that just means that both of these subjects pair with howled. So it's one pair. That's what they're saying. It's like one pair. That's a tricky one. And then what kind of openers do we have?
Subject opener?
Good. It is a subject. What number is that?
One.
Good.
And then
Oh,
another
we got to figure out where the other period goes, huh?
after moment.
No, not after a moment. Where does the period go? Because we got a main clause and then a preposition and then another main clause. So it's going to go somewhere after this main clause, the first main clause.
After delight,
Yes, there you go. So let's take out that comma and put a period. And the reason is because we have a new main clause coming, and this prepositional phrase is going to start that
there's
sentence.
a prepositional opener, and
Yes.
it's to.
Yes, there you go. Oh. And then there's an end mark here. So we got the two openers. Indent, we're just going to put a paragraph symbol at the beginning. Go ahead and find the four capitals.
And we already took out that comma.
What am I missing? Oh, this is okay. What comma did you take out?
The one after delight, and then the one after Robin Hood.
Good, yes, because you're listing two subjects right here, so there's no comma. And then two end marks. Wow, that had to be some kind of record, Christian. That was amazing. I'll let you write. Do you want to write it down real quick?
Yeah.
I'll let you write it down since we did that so fast. Make sure you work on your handwriting, though. Don't go too fast on it. Wow. Okay, good job. You can put your grammar book away for now and get out your binder. And we're going to skip a lesson this time. So actually, we're going to skip a couple lessons because this is going to be the last paper that you write for my class. And we only have 3 weeks left, like I said. So we're going to take our time on this one. But I want you to skip to week 21, and it's called Oceania. So go to Oceania. And then you're also going to need, after you get that out, let me tell you how many pages it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. Oceania, it starts on page 193. Okay. And you're going to need a piece of plain white paper. I know you're at the library, but I hope you have a piece of printer paper with you. Do you have any plain white paper with you?
Do you have any plain white paper?
What?
Do you have any plain white paper?
You don't have any?
If you don't have a piece, you can use lined if you
I
need.
do. Oh, wait, no, I only have lined paper, sorry.
Okay, you can use lined if you need to make that work. I know you're at the library. Okay. So we'll just hold off on the lined paper for a second, but we're moving on to a new lesson here. This is called the formal essay models, is what it says. So this is going back to more academic writing, and this is going to be a paper about Oceania. Do you know anything about Oceania, by the way? Do you know what it is? Okay, it's a region. And it's part of our world. We're going to learn about it first by reading the article. So go ahead and go to page 195 here. And we're going to read about it. But this time, you're going to decide what subject you're going to write about. So we're going to learn first what Oceania is, and then we're going to explore what are some things we could write about it. What are some possible topics that go with it? And then you can decide on what you're going to pick. Everybody's going to pick something different in this class about this. So let's just go ahead and start reading it. Page 195. I'm going to read it to you. You can just follow along. Unless, do you feel like reading, Christian?
No.
That's okay. All right. Oceania is a vast region covering an area of over 3 million square miles, most of which is open ocean. It can be divided into four regions: Australia, Melanesia, or actually it's Australasia. It's what they call that. It's a region, part of Australia. Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. From south to north, it is approximately 5,800 miles from Macquarie Island northwestward to Honolulu, Hawaii. At the far east corner is the island of Rapa Nui, also known as Easter Island. I remember Easter Island with when we read about Captain Cook. You remember that a little bit? No? Or maybe it was the Sandwich Islands, actually, now that I think about it.
It was the Sandwich Islands.
Sandwich Islands. Okay. Oceania consists of thousands and thousands of islands. As our knowledge of geography grows, these definitions can change. For example, New Zealand is now considered part of a microcontinent called Zealandia, but it is still part of Oceania. Over 40 million people live in Oceania. That's a lot. Some are descendants of original natives, but many are descended from the Europeans who came later. The islands were explored and colonized. By the way, you can see that map right there before we turn it over. And I'm going to show you one of these on the computer in a second, and then you can get a feel for how big it is, but how many thousands of islands are in it. It's in the middle of the ocean. Okay, so let's turn that over. Beginning in the 16th century, some islands, such as the American part of the island of Samoa, remain territories of foreign nations. Others, like Fiji and Australia, have been granted their independence. Still others, such as French Polynesia, are slowly being given more freedom and over time will likely become independent. Oceania contains a wide range of cultures. Over 1,300 languages are spoken in Melanesia alone. By far, the largest and most populous country in Oceania is Australia. Sydney, the capital of the state of New South Wales, is a thriving modern city of over 5 million, but parts of New Guinea, a large island just north of Australia, are home to primitive tribal groups that are almost never seen by outsiders due to the rugged, hard to reach terrain and the possibility of violence, even cannibalism. Okay, do you know what cannibalism means?
I know a cannibal is like someone who eats their own kind.
Exactly. And these are,
Cannibalism is like the act of eating your own kind.
well, obviously that is morally wrong. I'll start by saying that. And it is definitely illegal in the United States and most countries. But in these tribes, they're on these islands that are in the middle of the ocean, and they actually do that, I guess. It's just crazy to think about. But so it reminds me of Pirates of the Caribbean. Have you seen that movie before? Okay. So there's a scene where Captain Jack Sparrow gets stranded on an island, and on this island there's these tribes. And have you ever seen a tribe before where they paint their faces? They paint their faces and they wear, I don't know, like I know that Indians have tribes like American Indians where they wear feathers and things like that, but they're a completely different culture where they, are in nature and it's hard to imagine it's happening right now because we live in America. We have clothes and houses and jobs and things like that. And there's these tribes that are in the middle of these islands that don't have a normal civilization like we do. It's just hard to imagine, but that's what they're talking about. These islands that are really remote. It's near impossible to even get to them. And they have huts, they don't even have buildings. And so it's like if you ever see that movie, I know that Pirates of the Caribbean have like, I don't know, 4 or 5 different movies now, but okay, anyway, let's keep going right here. Oceania was a hotly contested battleground during the Second World War. Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, catapulted America into conflict. Let me pause there for a second. Have you studied about World War II yet?
I think so.
History? Do you remember Pearl Harbor? Remember the story about that?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was a really tragic and really huge moment in American history when Japan did a surprise attack on America. And Pearl Harbor is in Hawaii. And anyway, the world was already in war, World War II, but America was not part of it until Japan attacked us like out of nowhere. And then we got involved. So anyway, that was a big, we'll talk more about that in a minute. But then it says, much of World War II between the Allies and Japan was then fought in what is called the Pacific Theater. That is, many crucial battles took place in Oceania. The Allied victory at the Battle of Midway Islands in 1942, followed by the successes of Guadalcanal, the largest of the Solomon Islands, proved decisive in defeating the Japanese forces. Some of the most interesting accounts of life in Oceania come down to us from the writers who lived there. Robert Louis Stevenson, who wrote Treasure Island, and James Michener, American author of Tales from the South Pacific. Let's keep going here. This is page 197. Are two examples. Michener's book is based on his experiences as a lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy on the jungle island of Espiritu Santo during World War II. His fascinating stories of island life as an American serviceman won the Pulitzer Prize and were made into the award-winning Broadway musical and the movie South Pacific. Travelers to Oceania enjoy its fabulous diversity because of Oceania's lush tropical climate and its physical isolation from the rest of the world. Good? Do you have the right page? The life forms are abundant, varied, and unique. Plants, animals, and marine life exist in Oceania that can be found nowhere else. These endemic species include kangaroo, koala, duck-bill platypus, wombat, and the Tasmanian devil, named for the island of Tasmania. That's this picture. This is a picture of a Tasmanian devil. You ever heard of that before?
Yeah, I've heard of him.
He's actually a character in a cartoon from like the 1960s and 70s, the Tasmanian devil. But they're pretty, it looks pretty cute right here. And it looks like he's just yawning, but I have a feeling they're vicious. I know they're vicious. So he's probably like growling or I don't know. Anyway, the versatile geography of Oceania ranges from towering peaks in New Zealand and Australia to the core islands of Micronesia and Polynesia that barely rise above sea level. One such island, Rapa Nui, also called Easter Island, is located 2,300 miles west of the South American nation of Chile. Ancient stone statues are called Maui. Mutely stand guard on Rapa Nui, carved between 1100 and 1500 by the original island dwellers. The largest weighs over 90 tons and stands 30 feet tall. They are believed to represent chiefs or family ancestors. Located just off the coast of Australia, the Great Barrier Reef is home to 600 species of coral, 30 species of whales, dolphins, and porpoises. Over 200 species of birds and more than 1,500 species of fish. Large sections of the reef have died due to small increases in ocean temperature. The Great Barrier Reef might no longer be able to sustain the vast number of fish that have always lived there. Oceania faces a severe environmental threat. Plastic pollution. Henderson Island, an uninhabited island far from civilization, was found in 2017 to have estimated 37.7 million pieces of plastic debris weighing over 17 tons washed up on its formerly pristine beach. Henderson Island belongs to Great Britain, but the tons of plastic garbage identified by scientists came from countries around the world. It is a serious global problem that requires a cooperative global effort to keep beautiful Oceania from ecological. These are those statues right there. So that's just basically an article, an overview of what Oceania is and where it's located. And I want to share a picture. I'll have it here. Online of this so that you can see where the United States is in relation to Oceania. It's kind of like the one in the article, but all these different shades of color right here are showing different regions, different parts of the whole Oceania. But this whole thing is called Oceania. And if you look up here to the right, on the upper right, that's Mexico, and the United States is right above that, right here. So that's where we are. And then over here on this side is Japan and Asia and the Philippines.
So it is like in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, totally between Asia and the United States of America is that whole ocean. And if I kind of zoom in, I'm gonna see if I can zoom in a little bit. All those little green dots are islands. And they're not even showing all of them. It's not a great picture, but like over here, you see, I mean, you can see a lot of green dots in here. Those are all islands. There's more than 10,000 islands here. And then you see, Australia over here. That's a big piece of land. That's a continent right there.
These islands on this side.
Yeah. So these areas are called Micronesia, Polynesia, Melanesia, and then see how you have New Zealand here. We know a little bit about New Zealand. And then we've got Australia and New Guinea right here. So just to show you where it is on the globe, in the middle of nowhere, like you said, in the middle of the ocean, literally. Okay, so I wanted to show you that. Now, what we're going to do next is get your, I know you only have line paper with you. That's okay. Get your line paper.
Wait, is it like big white paper?
Well, do you have any more of those left?
Yeah.
Oh, then use that. That's a good idea. Use the big one. If you're watching this recording, if you have more big paper, you can use the big paper or you can use a smaller printer paper. So let's do that. Just open it up, get it ready for an outline here. That's good. I'm glad you have some of those left.
I took some from my old book just in case I needed them.
That was smart. A lot of people ran out, so you're lucky you have it. You know how to fold it. Let's do that. I'll go fold first and then in thirds. We got 6 boxes in. Yep. Yeah, don't worry if it's not perfect. Yep, that's it. You got it, Christian. That's perfect. So you know what to do. Go ahead and put A up here on the first. Oops, let me share my screen so you can see what I'm doing. A, B, and C. We're going to do different outlines for each. So this is going to be actually Roman numeral 2 because this is going to be your first body paragraph. So let's do Roman numeral 2. And we're just going to do 1 through 5. And this time, let's just put 5 in parentheses. Okay, so you're going to need to find at least 4 facts here. So Roman numeral 2, because this is the first body paragraph. And then go over to B. Roman numeral 2 again, 1 through 5. 5 is optional. And C. Okay, and then fused outline. And this one, we're going to do Roman numeral 2, and this is going to be 1 through 6. And then that word clincher. Okay, so like I said earlier, you are going to actually pick your subject. Normally, the subject is already given to you, and then you decide on the topics, but you're actually going to pick a subject. Now, you can pick any subject, but it has to be related to Oceania. So let's put over here, instead of possible topics, let's put possible subjects here. Now remember, subjects is like the whole paper, like what your whole paper is going to be about. So there's some ideas that we heard in this original article, but remember, it has to be related to Oceania. So we heard a little bit about some battles, right, that happened in that area during World War II. We heard a little bit about some of those battles that happened. So you could choose one of the battles that happened in that area. We could do some research and find like what battles happened, bless you. We did hear a little bit about animals. So you could choose an animal. By the way, in parentheses, you're going to just focus on one. So if you choose an animal like the kangaroo, for example, you would just choose one animal, not all animals. That would be too much. So you got to narrow down your subject to one thing like that. We did hear about the Great Barrier Reef. That is a place in Oceania, and it's like the largest in the world that has a lot of sea creatures that live in that reef. So you could write about that. If you like the idea of maybe vacationing somewhere in Oceania, you can pick one of the places, like a place, like one of the islands, maybe in Oceania. I'm going to put island in parentheses here. Like if you picked one island and you want to do research on that island. And maybe like native traditions in Oceania. Or a tribal group. Now, remember, tribes is what I was trying to explain earlier when they are a culture and they paint their faces and they wear like animal skin and they wear shells, around their neck. And they're just a completely different life than what we know in America. But the tribes are interesting to study as well. Is there anything else you can think of that you know about Oceania that you could do a paper on?
Well, how large it is, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to write, it has to be related to Oceania. I guess you could write about, that might be too broad. That might be too big of a subject. You want to keep it kind of narrowed down. I mean, you could pick Australia or New Zealand, one of those main islands.
I'd say it's good with what there is so far, though.
Good what there is so far. Okay. Um, we could, what do you like from these? Do you see anything in this list that you're like, yeah, I'd like to study more about that or know or understand it more? Is there anything on here you can think of? Do you want to study
I would choose battles.
battles? Okay. That's a good one. Because it did mention that in this article, there were several during that World War II time. Um, okay. Battles. Well, how about we just focus on the battle, the war, actually, the World War II battle and what happened in Oceania? Do you like the idea of that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one. Um, and by the way, Hawaii is part of, I was going to show you that. Let me show you that map again that I found online because Hawaii is in there. It is, to zoom out a little bit. You
Oh
see it
yeah,
right
right
here?
at the top.
Yeah. And Hawaii is part of the United States. So that's how we got kind of sucked into that war was because the war was happening among these other islands and these other countries. And then Japan just said, I know, let's attack the United States of America and go to Hawaii. So, okay, I like that. Battles. Let's focus on that. Um, let's put on and this is for those that are watching this recording, you can choose any of those subjects. So the subject, remember, is the main part of your paper, and then you focus on what topics. So I'm going to just help Christian because he's the only one in here today. So let's go back to this blank spot under A, and let's put World War II. That's going to be your focus. That's your subject. And then let's put possible topics here. Okay. I am going to now help you get going on your research since we have a little bit of extra time here. And I'm going to, if you give me a second here, pull up some articles. Had some up from earlier. Okay, here we go. Give me a second to pull this up here. Actually, let's let your focus, your subject be Pearl Harbor.
I was thinking about that as a subject.
Yeah, Pearl Harbor. Let's focus on, I think that's going to be easier than World War II because there's so much to World War II. So right next to, here, let me show you what I'm doing here. It's really going to be Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor, like the attack on Pearl Harbor.
The attack on Pearl Harbor. Yep. So that can be one of your possible topics is the attack itself. And maybe what led up to the attack, like what happened before the attack, because there's a reason why Japan attacked the United States, right? So maybe we can say lead up to attack, like what happened before the attack, what led up to the attack. And after attack, what happened? So a lot of people died during that attack, by the way. So those would be great. This would actually be your Roman numeral 2 right? What leads up to the attack, and then the attack itself would be Roman numeral 3, and then the aftermath would be Roman numeral 4, because those are your 3 body paragraphs. This is ultimately going to be a 5-paragraph essay. You're just starting with the first paragraph today, though, this week. Okay. So this is the one you're going to focus on right here, was what happened leading up to the attack on Pearl Harbor. So let's put Pearl Harbor. Let's put PH here for Pearl Harbor. And do you want to call this topic before attack or lead up to attack? Like, what could we call this topic?
Before attack.
Yeah, before attack. I like that too. Okay, before attack. So this is going to be your topic.
Paragraph 2, and
Yeah.
it's a body paragraph. Then are we going to do a topic paragraph?
So it's going to be introduction. So we're saving Roman numeral 1 for an introduction. Okay. So that's why we're starting with Roman numeral 2, because we're going to focus on those middle body paragraphs for this part. Does that make sense, Christian?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So let's put PH for Pearl Harbor before attack, and PH before attack, and then fused PH before attack. Now, if you're watching this recording and you want to pick an animal like the kangaroo or the koala or something like that, that would be your subject. Would be, let's say, kangaroo. And then you would choose your topics. Your topics could be habitat and diet and physical characteristics of the animal. Like, what do they look like? Obviously, kangaroos are unique, very different. If you choose a place, like let's say you want to choose Fiji, one of the islands, Fiji, then your subject would be Fiji. And then your topics would be like the culture, the food, the traditions, maybe the geography of that place. So I'm just letting people know who are watching. There's lots of choices here. It just has to be related to Oceania. And so it can really be even more than what we have as possible subjects. You might even think of something even different than that, but it has to be related to Oceania somehow. Okay, and then you're going to start your research. And this is where, if you're watching this recording, you need to involve your parent with the research part of it, because you're going to need to go to Google and find out where are you going to find this information. So let's add this, though, especially for people watching. Just draw a line after this so we have a little space underneath here, Christian. And I'm going to have you list some safe websites to go to, which we're going to look at in a minute. But Britannica Kids is one. Remember, you're going to make sure it has kids in the search. And I'll show you that in a minute. So Britannica Kids, National Geographic, Kids. Like I said, if you have kids in there, that's going to be a much safer search for you. There's one called Kids Encyclopedia and Kids World Travel Guide is one. These are websites that you can find information on these possible subjects and possible topics. Britannica Kids does not let you print unless you subscribe. So do not subscribe to any of these, because when you subscribe, you pay money, and I don't want you to pay money. Okay. I know your parents don't either. So do not subscribe, but you can still go to it. And what you can do is highlight the information and copy it and put it into a Word document and then print that. That will work. That's one way around the subscription. It's a little information about that. Okay, so Christian, I'm going to go to the internet with you. Let me get it going here. Um, so when I do my search, and I'm going to share my screen, I'm going to put Pearl Harbor facts for kids. So do you know how to get on there at the same time as Zoom? Okay, good.
Yeah.
Go to your search bar, just your Google bar, and put Pearl Harbor facts for kids. Here you have 4 kids in there. And did you get it? Or you're working on it?
Do I have to put Pearl Harbor attack facts for kids or Pearl Harbor facts for kids?
Just Pearl Harbor. They know what that's about.
I found National Geographic's
Yes, me
Attack
too.
on Pearl Harbor.
Yep, click that. It says Attack on Pearl Harbor.
Yep.
Yep, that's the one. National Geographic Kids, that's a safe site to go to. And if you do more searching later, just make sure you have a parent with you as you're doing the search. And then once you find something, then you just use that. Or if they want you to print it, you can print it. This time I'm going to let you keep it online because it's good to also learn how to look on the computer at facts and put it down on paper. That's also a good skill to learn. So does yours look like mine here? Attack on Pearl Harbor, and it's got this picture of this is the president.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, this is Franklin D. Roosevelt. He was the president at the time of the attack on Pearl Harbor, which was 1941, remember, in December. So we have different categories in this article, which helps a lot. These actually can be possible topics. I see attack on Pearl Harbor. I see the plan. I keep scrolling. I see the attack. You can scroll through this article and then the aftermath. See how I'm just kind of scrolling through all this. And then there's extra links at the bottom. Don't worry about those. But you can see as you scroll through these pictures and these subtitles or subheadings, I should say, it gives you more information about it. So go to the one that says the plan as far as the subheading. You see that?
Yep.
Okay, so this will be a good resource for you. This is going to be, let's call this one A, your source A. So on your big white page next to where you have the A in the box on that outline, at the very top next to A, put National Geographic. Put kids.nationalgeographic.com. Here, let me show you what I mean. This is what I'm going to do here. For you, your first one is going to be kids.nationalgeographic.com. That's going to be your source A. Kids National Geographic, kids.nationalgeographic.com. And do you know how to save a bookmark on your computer, Christian?
Yeah, it's the star.
Yes, good. So when you click the star and then it'll ask you and you can click done to show that yes, you want to save that as a bookmark. And that way it's going to be easier to find if you need to go back to it later. Okay. Got it?
Yep.
Sweet. So let's just focus on your source A here and the plan. It says, and you can kind of skim this. I know you're a quick reader, but basically this is talking about this admiral here, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto. I'm looking right here next to his picture. He's the commander-in-chief of the Japanese naval forces and architect of the Pearl Harbor attack. Didn't want a fight with America. So he's the one that was in charge of the Japanese military at the time of the attack. So, and then it says, but much of Europe and Asia, including Japan, were involved in World War II at the time. So World War II was already happening. And then Yamamoto wanted to take over certain countries in Southeastern Asia and use their oil to help fuel Japan's military vehicles and naval fleet. So they basically wanted to steal oil from Asia. That was their whole plan. That's what they were trying to do, is Japan was trying to steal oil from Southeastern Asia so that they could use it for their military. And then it says, but because the US base in Hawaii was relatively close to these countries, the Japanese worried that the United States would send soldiers from Pearl Harbor to defend the nations if they were attacked. Because remember, they're part of Oceania, and Hawaii was part of Oceania, and there was a part that was being attacked by Japan. So they know, and that's kind of the history of wars with the United States, is we usually get involved to protect our allies, and our allies are the ones who are our friends, right? We want to keep a good relationship with them. But Japan violated that, and they wanted to stop the United States from even trying to get involved, which is really not smart of this man because he did a surprise attack, and this is a picture right here of Pearl Harbor before the attack. This was like a Navy station. It was a base, military base. It's pretty small compared to, the land behind it here.
Is that like one of the smallest islands?
Well, Pearl Harbor, yeah, I would say so, but it see that land in the background there? That's actually Hawaii. This is just a piece of Hawaii, but it is separate than the land, so it's considered an island. But yeah, it's one of the smallest. It's called a harbor, actually, because it's so close to the mainland. But they just attacked out of nowhere. So it was a surprise attack, and it killed a lot of people. So a lot of military people. Okay, so let me see back up here. Where does it say that? By destroying the US military presence in the region, that was the region of Oceania, the countries Japan wanted to target would be left vulnerable. So he knew that the United States wouldn't protect the other islands if he just destroyed them. That was his goal. So Yamamoto decided to move toward with a surprise attack on the US fleet in Hawaii. And you can see this is like during the attack, the explosions in the background. Crazy. That's on that little island, the Pearl Harbor. And then so it says, so on November 26, 1941, 31 warships carrying fighter planes and bombers slipped from Japan in the North Pacific. They moved silently until they closed in on the Hawaiian Islands. A small Japanese plane made a loop around the target and radioed back, Pearl Harbor sleeps. That's one of the famous lines from that battle. So you've got some good stuff to put for your A outline here leading up to the attack. I'm going to back up here a little bit. Okay. Yeah. So what do you think? Going back to the beginning of this section called the plan, what's something maybe mentioning the commander's name would be good?
Admiral Ishoku Makabatabari.
And we could call him, let's use his name on the outline, but you can count it as one word because it's his name, even though it's technically 3 words. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. So Admiral, this is on number 1, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto. And I would put naval or Navy chief. I'll show you what I got here. I'm going to put a J, so I know it's Japan's Navy chief. Basically, what you're going to do is start filling in information on your outline. This is how I did it. I put his name, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, and then I put J Navy Chief. That's Japanese Navy Chief. Okay, and then going back to the article. How can we explain that in an outline form, like what his plan was?
Plan, steel, oil, Asia.
Yeah, I like that. That's 4 words, but we could put for Asia, maybe we could put AS or something to abbreviate Asia. Like that idea?
Yeah.
So plan, comma, steel, comma, oil, which is ironic because Japan is part of Asia. So it was his own country that he was stealing from, which is so bizarre, but it was part of Oceania, which kind of separates it from the rest of Asia. That's the part. Does that make sense, Christian?
Yeah.
Okay. And then why did he attack? Why did he want to attack the United States or
He
Hawaii?
stopped them from protecting Asia.
Yes, yes, that was his whole plan. So how can we put that on the next line?
Attack US. Stop. Maybe draw a shield in Asia.
We might be able to use 3 and 4 to describe that. How can we break it up into two lines? Maybe that would be easier.
So attack.
I like your idea of putting like stop USA help countries or something like that. You know what I mean? Because he wanted to stop them from helping their allies. And then number 4 could be attack. What do you think?
Yeah, that works.
That works? Okay, so number 3 could be maybe stop USA help or helping and then countries. Even though we hadn't gotten involved yet, it's just crazy how this all came about. But so they were trying to prevent, basically, maybe that's a better word than stop. They were trying to prevent the United States from helping the other countries. Okay, we're out of time already. So those other websites, like if I go back to my search here where we had Pearl Harbor Facts for Kids, if you keep scrolling, here's another good one called History for Kids. That's a good site to go to. Britannica Kids, that's a good site to go to if you keep scrolling. Um, Kids, Encyclopedia Facts. So this is where you're going to need your help with your mom, but you're going to, or your dad, or whoever wants to help you with this. You need to find 3 sources. Hold on, before you pack up, Christian, hang on a second. So you already have 1 source, the National Geographic one. You need to find 2 more, okay, from that list. And you're just going to focus on, it got dark. You're just going to focus on the topic of what happened before the attack on Pearl Harbor. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And you're going to finish up those outlines and write your first paragraph, your first body paragraph. So you're really only writing 1 paragraph this week, but you got to do that research first. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. If you have any, this is for everybody watching too. If you have any pressing questions, because I know this is a big assignment, it's better to text me. So have a parent text me if you have a really important question you need an answer to quickly. Otherwise, I don't check Google Classroom every day. So it's if you have a really important quick question for me, have them text me, okay? All right, Christian. I'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.